regarding that.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I'm glad that you don't have
Okay.
questions. I mean,
Okay.
like, I'm glad that you're on track and feel comfortable with it.
Okay.
Okay, so I just launched the broadcast, and um, this recording. There's going to be a link to it going out on Blackboard right now. How about you, Em? Where are you at with the presentation?
I'm still trying to wrap my head around the presentation part of it, because like the gathering information and stuff is really the easy part. It's figuring out how to best present that I think is the real challenge of the project, because especially like in my group where it's Stephanie and I who are both virtual, like we're gonna have to, I'm thinking we'll probably use something like Google Slides or something, that way we can work on it at the same time. And I kind of I think we had discussed focusing on the things that we found the most interesting and wanted to know more about within the course, because I think one of the things we discussed was that we kind of moved through the topics fast, so we didn't touch on certain things as much as what we touched on others, so I was hoping to kind of capture some of the things we didn't discuss as much. But as far as I don't necessarily have questions. I think it's just actually getting down to it.
That's the hard part.
And we're presenting live on at the live session, the last one, right? The 5th. Okay.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, here's Jim. Hey, Jim. I can hear some noise on your end, but no voice yet. Yeah, I mean, you know what might be helpful is to take that assignment and break it down into its tasks, and then kind of come up with an action plan for who's gonna do what. So if you have that, like Jim, I know you had been contacted by Carrie a couple of times.
Yes.
Are you guys all set? Are you on track for the presentation, or do you have any questions?
We have not started with each other yet, so I think there's one more that's going to join us from the Rockland shop there.
Lindsay.
I believe. Who is it?
Lindsay.
Okay. The other woman that sits in there with me once in a while.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Lindsay.
Then that's her name. Yes, I saw her the other day just passing, and she said, "Yeah, let me know, and I'll jump on that." So I know Carrie sent me an email today. I've got to look at to talk about when we're going to get together.
Okay, great.
Do you know if Brooke ended up with a group? I'm just remembering that she sent out an email a while ago now asking for a group to take her on.
I'm pretty sure she did, because I think I sent her on to Carrie also, and I think I'm looking here real quick. I think she sent another email back saying, "Thank you, I've joined somebody," but I'm going to look real quick.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I asked Carrie to reach out to Brooke last week. So good. I'm glad she connected with someone. But yeah, if you don't have a chance to connect live with the people in your group, what I would suggest is have a Google Doc that everyone can access, and list the requirements of the assignment in that Google Doc, and then in parentheses, or however you want to organize it, note which text you're selecting and then who's going to handle it. Hey, there's Steph. Hi, Steph.
Hey. It's nice out.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Ugh.
Brooke said that she was going to join in with Rebecca and Liza
Oh, okay, good.
out of Augusta.
That would make this our biggest video cast yet, I think.
Yeah, we're supposed to have. There were 5 people who could attend at this time, so hopefully we'll catch them all. So, what are some topics? You were saying, and I totally agree that there were some topics we didn't get to go in depth with, and you were hoping to use the presentation as a chance to explore. So, like, what did you have in mind for that?
I guess I hadn't really gotten to that part yet. I was kind of thinking more, I guess, like, it almost seems like each module we focused, because, like, each one has, like, 2 things, and it seems like each one we kind of focused on one or the other more than, like, the latter. Because, like, in Module 1, I feel like we focused more on identity than relationships. In Module 2, I feel like we focused more on privacy than politics. Module 3, I felt like we focused more on memes than culture. You know, like, it seems like there's a pretty distinct one out over the other type of deal in each module.
That's a really good insight. Yeah, I think you're right. What about thought and language? Did you feel like there was one that people focused more on than another?
I can't really comment on that because I haven't had a chance to read through everyone's stuff, so I don't want to give insight to that when I haven't really read too much of it yet.
Yeah, that's okay. Anybody else? Well, I guess what I should ask, if you don't want to like base your answer on what your classmates are doing, if there was one of the 2 ideas that appealed to you or kind of grabbed your imagination a little more.
Well, my favorite topic so far was identity. I thought that was a fascinating conversation. I think I'm gonna like thought too, but I haven't gotten into that one yet.
Yeah, there's a new book that I want to read. The New York Times Magazine, this past Sunday there was an article on Minecraft, and the person who wrote that article, he also has a book coming out about the impact, the positive impact, he argues, on our intellect that new media is bringing with its access to whatever information we want at any time. But he's basing some of that in his discussion of Minecraft, which, are you guys all familiar with Minecraft?
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone want to take a crack at describing it?
It's a role-playing game, isn't it? Kind of similar to World of Warcraft and kind of like Sims, but there's no live version of The Sims. The thing that distinguishes these types of games from other RPG games is that they're interactive. You're online with other people who've created other characters, and it's this whole like virtual reality essentially. It's really interesting. I've never been able to get into it because I don't have the patience to sit still when I'm not doing anything like schoolwork, but I think it's really interesting how people can kind of delve into a whole different world. I think that goes along with the whole identity conversation because you can create a different identity using this game.
Definitely. And I think like how you see yourself affects like all the relationships. At least that's how I tied it in on the first module. Like your idea of your own self-identity and how you portray it and how you change it like as you grow affects the different relationships and how people react to you. And it's even like if you're playing one of those games or if you're like out of the virtual world.
Yeah, I think you know, that sense of like kind of recreating yourself and having complete control over it um, is really interesting. And um, for Minecraft, anyway, there's like a kind of well, like Google in a way, like there's a self-reliance. The users have to kind of figure out how to fix problems, and you know, there's no like tech support to turn to do that. So the author argues that, you know, the way um, adolescents use a game like Minecraft is not unlike how coders do their work. That they like rely on each other to fix problems and assume that, you know, they're going to kind of own the solutions to those problems and then share with everyone rather than like waiting for someone to instruct from above or fix, you know, from without. Um, and I see that really spill over into the thought and language discussion as well. You know, like how you see yourself as a user, how you think about yourself, and how much you interact with the media that you're, you know, obsessed with at the moment. I think um, is kind of dictated by the boundaries of the programs that we choose, you know. So if you see yourself as someone who's um, like a passive user, then the kind of media you choose is going to reflect that, and the way that you engage with the media, and what you see as the boundaries of a user's experience. You know, all of that is going to like kind of there'll be a symbiosis, you know, like between the technology that the user chooses and the user's thoughts about what technology is supposed to do in the best case scenario. And when there isn't, there'll be friction where, you know, like maybe you have a parent who or like a relative who like seeks out a lot of support, you know, for using things that in your mind, like it might be like your job as the user to find that answer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's why like Catfish and the whole idea of that is like so appealing to people, because it gives them the chance to like be that person but then interact as that person as a way to kind of like test it out, like their new identity, and see how successful it is. But then again, if it's totally based on a sham, they gotta expect something to go wrong.
So constructing relationships, like
Yeah, because I mean, if they're on false pretenses, you think this person is one person and they're completely different, then there's really like no trust, and that's one of the main things like in a relationship when you're first forming it.
yeah, that might be a really interesting thing to look at, you know, like how do trust bonds form in relationships that are forged through, you know, through new media. So if you're using an app to try to connect with your next relationship, you know, what are your expectations, and how do different apps allow us to build relationships, you know, that are definitely not intended to be long term or definitely intended to be long term, and or build communities, you know, not doesn't only have to be like a dating kind of relationship. I'm trying to think of other, trying to go back to your input, Emma, about like which themes really, you know, got a lot of play and which ones didn't get as much airtime. Because I know that a couple of folks in the class are already interested in focusing on relationships and planning to do something with that in their talk. And I don't want anyone to worry like that, you know, your group chooses something that some other group chose. You know, there's no concern on my part. If we, for some reason, had like two groups that just happened to pick exactly the same things, that wouldn't reflect poorly on your grade. We would still, I'm sure, you would have unique questions, each group to ask, and we could also kind of spend time talking about what one group of students decided to focus on versus another, even if it were like, in many ways very similar. So don't worry about that if your interests dovetail with another group. So relationships probably will come up. We're not sure yet, like if language or thought will get more attention. And you said culture didn't get as much play as memes.
Yeah, in my opinion, because I think we kind of all really thought memes was very... I think none of us really fully understood the definition of a meme. So I think once we all realized that, we kind of really wanted to delve right into that.
Yeah, I think memes are just fascinating. So I totally get it. And it's another piece, where the self-production and self-identity, and that like there's a DIY element to new media that I think is really interesting. I can see how it would be appealing to a particular identity, versus like kind of consumer-based like service that's provided, I might argue that that's a model that's kind of on its way out when you look at new media and social networking. What do you think, Dan? You look very thoughtful.
I was actually thinking a little bit about just a little talk about got someone going in and out here. The Catfish. I just was thinking as we were talking how we're interacting right now. Just the amount of time since that was created, really these video chats can eliminate that sort of interaction where you can fake who you are or what you're up to. I mean, once you've got video in front of you and you can see the person face to face through the phone or through you can. I'm not saying it's better or worse, but you can definitely eliminate that factor now, as opposed to when that was done they couldn't, or it wasn't as widely used as now. We can just sign on to Google and off you go.
Yeah, now almost every computer has a webcam.
Right. Well, at least I think every laptop now does. Built right in.
But I think that should definitely be a red flag. Like if someone doesn't want to do it.
There you go. Exactly.
Run away.
I mean, and you shouldn't necessarily base how you interact with someone on how they look, but you can definitely use that to essentially make sure you know who you're talking to.
For sure.
Or if you are the catfish, then you just need like a more elaborate plan.
True. I'm sure that can be done. Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of the planning comes in the form of excuses.
Yeah, right.
Excuses. Oh, I can't make it today, or they'll schedule to do it, and then they'll be like, oh, my car broke down, and my mother's in the hospital, and like all these dramatic things, so that hopefully you'll believe them.
Right.
So you're saying I shouldn't believe it when students tell me things like that? Okay. Now I know.
Only on video chat.
Oh, okay. All right.
I can't confirm unless you video chat with me that this is really good.
It looks like we got Lisa back. Lisa, can you hear us?
I can hear you. I don't know if you can hear me though.
Yeah.
Loud and clear.
Yeah, you're good. I have a webcam. My last computer died, and I bought this one real cheap, and I didn't know until this second I didn't have a webcam.
Well, you could just go the Dan route and video conference from your phone in the
My
car.
phone won't do it. I have a Kindle Fire phone, and it won't take up the app.
Okay.
I know no one has a Kindle Fire phone, but they were
What are
on
you
sale.
hiding from us?
I'm outdoors. I'm laying in the sun as well.
Awesome. Nice.
No one wants to see that.
I'm
So
not letting you
jealous.
guys see the palm trees that are outside my door right now.
Yeah.
I wish in a few weeks I'll have palm trees.
I just want like green leaves from trees that look like they're dead.
They're coming.
I don't think I've ever seen a tree like that, Emma, but
Yeah, I've been really relishing telling people, and I'm in West Palm Beach right now, but I've been telling people for like a week how when I left, we were burning wood stove. Probably like all of you.
Today it's 70 here, though,
Oh, that's
so
cool.
nice.
That's awesome.
so it's nice.
Yeah, we have beautiful weather today.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I don't actually need it to be 80 degrees. It's a little overkill. Lisa, I put everyone else on the spot, so I'll go ahead and pick on you. Do you have any questions about the upcoming presentation or anything else?
No, I guess we still have to get together and talk about it some more.
You were the group that was talking about relationships, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like people that share Facebook accounts and I forget the two things we wanted to, or well, we were thinking about tying together. I don't know how firm it was. I thought it was, we pretty firm, but I just don't remember what it was. Relationships and tied with something else. Now I can't think of what it was. I don't have my notes in front of me. But
like looking at dating apps or something, but maybe I'm
yep.
confused with another. Oh, okay.
Part of it was dating apps. Part of it was joint Facebook accounts, and I think we probably should think of, like a little something about every, a couple different aspects. 15 minutes is a long time to talk. But I imagine that includes the question and answer time.
Yeah, and that alone could generate conversation for more than 5 minutes, if you are responding to everyone's response to your question and kind of, asking follow-up questions to get others to interact. I hadn't thought about joint Facebook accounts. What's the interest there? What were you guys thinking?
Oh, the motive for joint, and well, I was saying to Heidi, like I have some friends that have a joint Facebook account, and I don't think the husband's into it at all. I think it's the wife doing everything. But they, honest to God, were together all through high school. It was like right after high school they got married, had 2 kids. They'll always be together. They're practically the same person. I get why they have 2 or 1 Facebook account. But then I have, other friends. It's just stuff I know, it's their second marriage. They have a joint Facebook account, and I'm thinking, I wonder who doesn't trust who. I can see it going, either way. Like I do think some people they are that close, of course. But then I think other people, other people do it out of, you want to keep things where you can see them, make sure no one's up to anything. I think it could go either way.
Do you think age plays a factor there?
I don't think it matters. Maybe whether you trust or don't trust someone. I don't know. I feel like people stray or do what they're going to do at lots of different ages for lots of different reasons.
Yeah.
If they, I mean, if they're, a lot of people don't stray. A lot of people are, in it for the long haul, what have you. But, I suppose you never truly know what's going on. Maybe it makes some people feel better to have a joint Facebook account.
Yeah, it would be interesting to look at that, like, when you have a joint account, like what is that couple, what message is that couple trying to send, and why does it kind of, come across like there might be trust issues there with, certain like relationships that are presented as one person, as you were saying, and others, not so much. Like if your great aunt and uncle had like a joint Facebook account, and you knew that like your Aunt Dina did all the updating, and like your uncle never even looks at a computer, like kind of makes sense they have a joint account. But
Yeah.
if you're, like you're saying, like your friends who are, in their 30s or whatever, and on their second marriage, and they have a joint Facebook account, and it sends a different message. It's a really good observation, and I'd love to hear how folks unpack it.
Does anybody else know what they're doing their topic or what their topic is for our presentation?
Dating apps, joint Facebook accounts.
I think everyone's just doing what you're doing, Lisa.
Okay. Well, we're on the same team.
We're on the same team.
I know Em and stuff, you guys are working together.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't
thinking-
sorted.
We were kind of thinking about the whole catfish thing because it's sort of like become a way that people communicate in our new culture with new media.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think we're really sure yet, like, what twist we're going to take on it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Sometimes just, like, watching episodes seem to, like, highlight the major points, and it was kind of interesting because it was all generally things that came up that we had talked about, except for this one episode that this person had post-pregnancy depression, and she lied to this person that she already knew because it was helping her get out of that rut. So that was a kind of interesting piece of self-identity and self-worth, like how that actually helped.
What did the person with postpartum depression lie about?
She lied saying that she was another person because she was actually talking to a guy that she had dated in the past.
Oh, I see.
And for some reason, she didn't feel good enough about herself because of the postpartum depression to talk to him as herself. So she basically just created another profile that was who she wanted to be at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And he was really upset about that because he's like, hey, look, like we dated, we didn't leave on bad terms or anything, and this is how you present yourself. You lie to me and make me think you're like a psycho or something. But once Neve and Max explained him the situation, like he was a lot better about it and they talked and stuff. But it was just kind of an interesting way. I'd never seen someone deal with something like that on that kind of basis using Facebook and dating sites.
I wonder why someone would be motivated to reach out to a person they already knew if they were kind of reinventing themselves at the same time.
Yeah, that really confused me. I was like, why wouldn't you just pick a random person?
I think it was probably a couple of things. One was probably there was a level of comfort there. She probably didn't want to reach out to a complete stranger that she knew could hurt her. Like, I think that she probably had, you know, a certain comfort level with this previous guy that made her, and he probably made her feel good when they were together too, and she kind of was craving those, like, those good types of attention, you know, like,
Yeah.
I've never been pregnant, so I've never experienced postpartum depression, but from what I've heard, it can be like a roller coaster. So I imagine that getting that positive attention could be the difference between making it and not, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially, like, I don't know what her spouse situation was, like who the baby daddy was or any of that kind of stuff, but like if she was alone or if he left her while she was pregnant or any of that kind of stuff, that can really affect like self-esteem and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. For sure.
So that might be kind of interesting to look at, like, how much backstory we get in that episode, and, you know, like, it seems like the goal is usually to humanize both the person who's been, you know, fooled and the person who did the fooling. So
Yeah, for sure. They actually had an episode last night which was called The Ones That Got Away, basically. Like the ones that didn't ever talk to each other, or like they got off on a bad foot when they ended filming, like with the host or the other person. So that was kind of interesting to see. Sometimes they could like fix everything and be on a civil terms with the other person, but other times it was like, no, there's no way in hell I'm talking to you. Why'd you bring me here to talk to that person when you know how badly they betrayed me?
yeah.
And do you really think all that stuff's real? I mean, it's reality TV is as scripted as it comes sometimes. So I'm one of those people that looks at it and says, yeah, made for a good show, and I don't know how
Well,
much
there's
of it I
still
can
going to
believe at
be
all.
some kind of human element to it. Like, I don't feel like if you were put in that situation that you could really fake the emotions to the degree that some people show it on there. I mean, there's some episodes that I'm like, I don't know, but others,
Yeah. And I agree with that to a point. And again, yeah, it's, you know, these people that are on it half the time are looking to get on TV some way or another. I mean, who really wants to go out and expose themselves like that? Is how I look at it. Like, who really wants to put that out there and have the world watch them make an ass of themselves almost, or put their heart out there like that? And so that's why I always take it with a large grain of salt. Because I just know how it works. I've met people that are in that industry, and how they just redo scenes over and over to get the right, oh, we're going to need you to cry now, I'm going to need you to do this. And, you know, it's not what it really appears to be sometimes, unfortunately.
I think the fact that you know you're being watched changes your behavior.
Oh, sure.
I mean, like, it just does. And the idea is always in the back of your mind in a reality show. It has to be. It's just
Seems
going to
like
make it a little ingenuine, just because folks aren't going to be totally honest just because they know they're being watched.
yeah. I think about live shows that are not reality. These are like precursor kind of daytime talk shows. So it's just kind of going one way, but the premise is people can come onto the show to expose themselves or expose people that they think have done them wrong, or kind of, you know, you can even find it, I think, in like court TV, or, you know, like media that's like several generations removed, that is, you know, focusing on like what is supposed to be a true presentation of events, but is likely, you know, as manipulated as what we see in reality TV now. But that extra layer that Catfish brings to it is pretty interesting, because it's an examination of people being being false, and that pretense, you know, which is already there and we're self-conscious of anyway with these kind of quote-unquote reality productions. It's really kind of a meta product.
I think there's a fine line too, because it seems like I would consider Catfish to be more real and less staged than something like The Bachelor. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain levels of reality TV, you know. Some of them are, you know, based on real events and use the real characters, but some of the scenes are staged, you know. They'll be like, reenact this for me, would you? You know, go to your back fence and gaze out distantly, you know. But it's like the real person. It's just like a staged moment for the film, you know. So there's definitely a fine line, because like in The Bachelor, you know, they give those women lots of alcohol, basically just like hope that something happens, you know. And it's like, I don't consider that to be reality TV. You know, you put 15 women in a room with a bunch of alcohol and you're going to get a show, you know. It's just, I don't know. I think there's a fine line between real reality TV and complete crap, in my opinion.
I agree. And there's something about like watching reality TV, like no matter how bad you've messed up in your life, it makes you feel so much better about yourself. You're like, I'm not nearly as messed up as those people.
Yeah, like you're talking about like the Kardashians, people like that.
Yeah, or even like The Bachelor, because I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm not that desperate that I'm going to go on a reality TV show and think seriously that I'm going to fall in love with the love of my life. Like,
when there's one man and like 25 women, like, and like 20 of them are convinced that he's their soulmate, so it's like very dramatic.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing how much that engages a national audience, and then how the participants kind of find their own 15 minutes of fame and, you know, celebrity magazines and things like that, and trashy like celebrity blogs.
Another one that's similar to that is Survivor.
Yeah.
And that show's been around a long time.
Yeah,
I don't know. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
There's something like about our culture that we don't really. I think it's subconscious that like we crave that kind of stuff for some reason. Not all of us, but obviously a large majority of a certain amount of people like go and they say, okay, Survivor's on Wednesday or whatever the heck day it is, and they like go to watch it. And it's kind of interesting to think about like why we're drawn to that sort of stuff.
Like drawn enough to plan our normal workday around
Right.
other people's fake adventures.
But that's been like that for years and years too, hasn't it? I can think back to when Friends was hugely popular and it was must-see TV, and even my parents back when Lawrence Welk and there were shows that you didn't miss. I don't care if it was Hee Haw or Lawrence Welk or Disney. You know, you made a point that Sunday evenings at 7 o'clock was Disney, and the whole family sat down, they watched that. I think it still happens now, but for some other reasons than what it used to be, maybe, as opposed to family entertainment. Now it's voyeurism.
I love that. Yeah. The voyeurism has become a kind of family entertainment. And I think Disney still really tries to work that like family values piece to its media. You know, the whole notion that like this is building intimacy and memories. You know, like between you and your loved ones when you consume our products.
Like the whole Kodak moment used to be. You know, it was a huge commercial for years. You had your Kodak moment, quote unquote. And how much more family oriented could you be?
Yeah, I mean, there's a big value around that idea of like capturing and therefore like maintaining or owning a moment in a relationship. You know, and I don't know if it's like kind of an investment in our personal lives as like seeing ourselves as within a narrative, which I think is why reality TV does as well as it does. It creates a narrative where, you know, there's just kind of a stream of obnoxious events otherwise.
You also just made me think of something else too. It creates a dialogue between people. Like, if somebody is watching, you know, Survivor, then it's kind of like, it's the same idea of football, baseball, like it's just for a different audience, you know, it gives people something to, oh, did you see this last night? You know, oh my God, what did you think about that? And could you believe this? You know, and it gives people like the ability to connect with each other over something like this. It would just be nice if it was something that was, I don't know, educational, so that people were actually learning good things instead of bad habits.
Well, one reason I think people shied away from addressing politics in our second module is that's that quote-unquote real-life discussion that we don't want to have because it seems to not go in a civil way. It's very easy to fall into, you know, just debate and not dialogue.
Well, I think that it's interesting that people feel comfortable enough to debate over whether or not a character should have been killed off, but they don't feel comfortable enough to talk about who should be leading our country, you know? That kind of indicates like a big disconnect, in my opinion, between our society and, you know, the topics that are really important, because if we feel comfortable talking about all this nonsense, but we don't feel like we're comfortable talking to each other about things that actually matter, then in my opinion, we got a severe communication problem going on in society.
That's spot on, because you think about, even you take it a step further where the people, when Star Trek went off the air and hundreds of thousands of letters, I mean, people mobilized into a community to go out and fight and bring this back, and yet we can't mobilize as a group to bring our taxes to where they should be, or to work on racism in America or anything else. But you're right, we can certainly get that show back on the air, damn it. That's going to work. It's amazing.
It is much less painful if I realize that, you know, the person I'm talking to cares about a completely different character than the person I'm talking to is, you know, well, I don't know if this is actually the case, but it feels like in a political conversation that I'm suddenly having a conversation with someone like who has totally different values than I do. And the anger seems to erupt where it's like, well, I have good values and you don't. How can we possibly work that out, right? There's like something falls apart very quickly, and the stakes are much higher than, you know, our favorite TV show.
They are, but I would enjoy conversation a whole lot more. Like, if, you know, if people felt comfortable enough to, I guess part of it comes, like, in my mind, part of it comes from not having a society in which we can have a difference in opinion and not get angry about it. You know, like, I don't understand why, you know, the four of you can't have a completely different opinion on something than what I do, but I'm not going to get mad about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a different human perception. Every single person has a different perception. So to state that somebody's completely wrong for what they believe in is ridiculous. It's like, oh, well, that's really interesting that you believe that. I believe this. You know, I wonder if there's any kind of common ground there, you know? But people get so focused on beating each other up when they disagree that it just, you know, I understand why people don't talk about important stuff, but it's discouraging, you know, because imagine the conversations that we would be having if our television talked about important things and our media talked about important things, and we were having those same types of conversations but about important things. It'd be amazing.
I wonder how we would find a common ground for what is important. There's already a lot of critique of, you know, big media for giving a lot of airtime to the wrong candidate or the wrong crisis or the wrong, you know, the wrong person being killed. You know, like why didn't you focus? You focused all this attention on, um, you know, a young black male, but did you know that a young white male was, you know, killed the same way last week, and we didn't get enough attention? So there's this sort of ongoing, I don't know. Um, yeah, it would be interesting to hear folks talk more about the connection between politics and anger, and why it's so difficult to talk about our differences without dissolving into anger.
I wonder if it's because maybe when we're talking about something that we feel so invested in, if someone doesn't agree with us, we take it personally, like as a personal attack, instead of just realizing, hey, it's okay to have different points of view. That's what makes the world go round. Like, why can't we just appreciate it without having to agree with it?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that kids have down pat, and then someday, somewhere along the way, they lose it. Because if you go into a kindergarten class and you ask them some question like that, I guarantee you they're not probably going to argue about it unless their parents have kind of instilled certain beliefs in them already. You know, the younger a kid is, the more open they generally are to differences in opinions and beliefs. It's not until they get older that they really cement those as like, this is right and everything else is wrong, you know. I watched, it was something about the state of Maine, and they went, I think it was a class in Old Orchard Beach. They went in and asked them what they thought about their election. It was like a, I want to say, group of third graders, so they're old enough to, you know, have some kind of knowledge about it. And it was absolutely fascinating to hear what they had to say, because they were all so intelligent about it. Even if they didn't know, like, about the specific candidates, they knew how they felt a candidate should conduct themselves. You know, they knew that them beating each other up over things was wrong, and that, you know, the president of America should be, you know, like, nice, and shouldn't, like, they were talking about the debate because they saw clips of it, and how they were really just berating each other. You know, it became a big joke, basically, because it was like, who can pick on who the most, you know. And even these third graders knew that that wasn't right. You know, they weren't talking about the issues, and I found that to be just so fascinating, because I think a lot of times we don't really think about, you know, what an 8-year-old thinks about the election, you know. So it was really eye-opening to see that.
I wonder if some of it has to do with what social media expects us to do when we interact with news or any kind of online item. I mean, we're supposed to like it, you know, or share it, or +1 it. And that's kind of a limited range, you
But
know.
now we can wow it, and we can love it, and we can make an angry face, but we can't dislike it.
Yeah, like you can still categorize. I guess there's like now a range of like and dislike, you know. But it feels like there's still like, you know, just a kind of general test for how positively or negatively we feel about something, and that's the kind of baseline of how we share information online.
Well, I think a
Well,
lot of it has to do with supply and demand too. Even if a story, people are mad at, you know, they're not interested, they're angry at the headline, but people keep, you know, looking at it, sharing at it, watching TV. People keep watching the Kardashians. People keep, you know, I mean, it's a product. They're a product. We keep buying it, whether it's intelligent or not. I mean, we're our own worst enemies. The media is catering to what we are, to what we're buying. That's all there is to it. So to complain as a whole is really kind of funny. Do you know what I mean? Gee, why don't they show more of this and that? Well, because it doesn't sell. And it really is that simple. So unless you get the masses to say, oh, I want to see more of, I don't know, whatever it is. Oh, I know it's not comfortable, but unless the masses are attracted to that and that starts selling, that is, I mean, we're all getting what we're asking for. It doesn't seem it on the individual level, but as the numbers go and that is what's selling. It really is that simple. It's too bad, but,
Mhm.
we asked for it.
I don't know. I kind of consider that to be kind of like the chicken and the egg thing because it's like, people created media, but it was like several corporations that decided what was allowed on TV and what wasn't, and then we've all kind of just accepted that. Like, over the year, I mean, I'm talking like generations too, because you imagine TV was started to be broadcast, decades ago. So it's like, did we really ask for this, or is this what they're providing
Yeah.
us with? And these are the shows that get the highest ratings, because I don't see anything offered that's anything different ever. They
That's
don't give
because
anyone a chance to
they
to
do
like something different.
they do surveys and they still do Nelson ratings and see who's watching what, and we get to vote on stuff or come up with commercials. There are like websites, what's your favorite Dorito? I mean, there are so many polls, and I think they have a really good idea of what sells. They really do. Even before they open a restaurant in an area, they do lots of research. Like I mean, I know Dunkin' Donuts is everywhere, but before they open a new store or any place like that, they do a lot of market research in the area. Are we going to sell enough product? Are we going to There demand here? And it's the same with TV and that kind of thing. I know there's a lot of, I mean, certain things are popular, like the dumb husband and the gorgeous wife, like in Everyone Loves Raymond, or I can list a bunch of shows like that. Uh, there are these formula TV shows and all the voyeur, all the reality shows have a bit of a formula and they're cheap and yada yada. But the fact is, people keep watching them. Dancing with the Stars gets people to vote. They harness the masses. I mean, this stuff. I mean, if they weren't making money and people weren't buying the product, it just wouldn't be. It just wouldn't. PBS is a great choice. PBS has all kinds of great stuff that I fall asleep watching PBS stuff all the time because it is a little boring, but it's also interesting, and but I mean there is stuff out there. Quite frankly, I don't think anyone's looking for it. I think that it's nice to. I mean, we are responsible for ourselves. I truly believe every human being on this earth is
If
responsible
shows
for
they stay
themselves.
afloat, does that mean people aren't watching them? You know what I mean? So are they just televising what they want?
I mean,
Mhm.
wait, say that again. PBS is.
Well, PBS. I mean, every time I turn it on, it seems like there's. My wife watches it quite a bit, but there's always for money between the show and there's a ton going on to support TV. And
Oh, I don't know if it's my computer or you
Yeah,
guys.
you're breaking up a little bit, Jim. Not catching all of. I'm hearing that uh, there's some research to be done finding a connection between like market research and ratings and um, and media production. Like the chicken or the egg question that Emma mentioned before. How much of it is like accurately reflecting what the public wants, and how much of it is actually impacting what the public expects, and therefore impacting what the public says it wants. Like I could create a survey that had 5 options, and if I have to choose one of those 5, I guess I will, but that doesn't mean that the option I chose really accurately represents me and my interests. It might just mean that my options are super limited.
Yeah.
Um, but we
I
don't
know that.
know the tool.
Sorry, Michelle.
Go ahead, Em. Go on.
I was just gonna say that I know I've been taking Stephanie and I are both in this class, a communications class this semester that has actually tied really well into this class, and it's talked all about the history of media. And basically, when media began, they didn't give a crap what people wanted to watch. They just put stuff on because people would watch it. It was a TV. It was new, like the ratings and stuff have come in, you know, over time. But when media first began, they just put what they thought would sell, you know, and then after that is when they started asking. But Michelle, I think you make a good point. Like, how do people know, you know, how do they know what they want if they haven't even been given the option? You know, if you're given a list of options and, you know, all the things you're interested in aren't on there, but you have to pick one, you know, it's like people watch reality shows because it's one of the more interesting things on TV. You know, that's not to say that people wouldn't be interested in something else, but they're not really ever given the option to choose something else.
I bet the data from Netflix is the best because they keep track of what you'd like to see and they'll give you options of, hey, this was like that, and this was like this show that you like to watch. I bet Netflix has probably more accurate, and plus you're in the privacy of your own home. So it's not like, oh, I had to go to that movie because Bob wanted me to go or whatever. You know what I mean? I bet that's like way more accurate than,
Yeah, that's a fascinating insight, because I see there's a real connection then between the kind of data collection that Netflix must do before it decides what its next round of programming is, and, you know, like the kind of data collection that a web browser will do so that we know, you know, the ads that are in the margins of our web pages are actually like in theory related to what we've been looking at, you know.
Well, what's really fascinating about that is the idea that Netflix is nowhere near as limited as what television is. Like, if you're talking specifically about television, like, you see hundreds of things that are on Netflix that they would never allow on television.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that Netflix definitely probably has a far more accurate representation of what the public is watching.
Yeah, that would be really cool to try to get access to. I don't know if they've released any information, but it would be so cool to, you know, see based on just user reports, you know, what is it that the public quote unquote wants.
Yeah, because if people are watching the Kardashians on Netflix, we are definitely in trouble. Just say it.
Okay, so we've been recording for an hour. I'm going to stop this broadcast, and I'm once again my battery is about to die, so I might just suddenly go away.